Welcome to today's episode of The Irresistible Factor. I have a very special guest, one of the members of the last SKU track that I mentored on. So I'm really excited to introduce Dr. Zonram Liao, who is the co-founder and CEO of Wellnergy Pets and also a vet. So lots of experience in the pet industry and clearly knows what people need for their pets from an over-the-counter pet product perspective. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Z.
Thank
I'm
you,
really happy
Christy.
to have you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's really exciting to have you on. Can you just give us a little bit? I want to hear your background before we get into the product story because it's obvious how you got there, but I want to know what inspired you and what made you get into veterinary medicine to begin with.
For sure, for sure. First of all, thanks for having me on, Christy. It's so good to see you again. Love talking to, the members of SKU that I've connected with over this last half year. You guys have helped me so much. So it's good to connect again. As far as my, backstory goes, I really didn't understand how unique it was, I guess, until I started meeting people in the SKU program or in, the e-commerce field that I'm in now, or retail industry, or CPG, people call it. But generally speaking, yes, I am a veterinarian here in Southern California, and my path to becoming a veterinarian was a little bit unorthodox. Most veterinarians out here, they've wanted to be vets since they were, 8, 9 years old. They grew up loving animals, and of course, I grew up loving animals as well. But I didn't really know that I wanted to be a vet until I was, 23, 24 years old, a little bit of a late bloomer. And, growing up, it was because I was a part of this community, that I grew up in. And, as a veterinarian, my thoughts is always to, you know, give back to this community. Yeah.
Talk
And
about the community so people know what you're referring to.
no, for sure. So basically, I grew up here in a little town in the LA suburbs called Diamond Bar, California, and I grew up here as a parachute kid. And what that means is when I was 15, 16 years old, uh, my parents essentially left us, me and my sister here, to go back to work in the motherland per se, Taiwan and China, where they spoke the language and make a little bit of a better living and provide for me and my sister a little bit better. And me and my sister, we were just left to our own devices. So, after school, the community played a huge part in helping to raise me and making sure I stayed out of trouble. Restaurant owners that let me hang out for 3, 4 hours to do homework and take up space in their restaurant at tables, take naps, and stay there. Gym owners that left the doors open till midnight, so me and my friends who are also parachute kids would stay out of trouble and we could shoot hoops. These are the people in the community that mean a lot to me.
That's amazing.
And thank you, thank you. And the goal was always to find a way to give back. Yeah. And so around 22, 23 years old, I finished college. I did not have, very much of a career going on. I had a pretty low GPA, kind of a loser coming out of college. And my parents, of course, they didn't know. They were still in Taiwan and China. And I was looking after, one of my aunt's pets. And they were also in Taiwan and China. So it was just me and my cousin, who was also a parachute kid. And our dog, or the family dog, got really sick. Yeah, it was living with me and my cousin. And at that time, we had to make some really, really tough decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, faced with a dog with a tumor that was bleeding out, and after we had made those really tough decisions, had to go through that whole ordeal by ourselves. In my mind, all I could think of was my cousin and other kids in my community that were parachute kids. And I said, "Hey, you know what? I don't want any other kid to go through this ever again in my community. Like, they shouldn't have to feel this way. They should have some guidance. They should have people here around that are looking out for them, want to help and understand what they're going through." So because of that, I decided, hey, I want to be a veterinarian for these people and these kids because a lot of them in my community have pets. So my parents came back. Of course, I got a little berating because my low GPA coming out of college. But I told my mom and my dad, I was like, hey, I want to be a veterinarian. Do you think I can borrow a little bit of money to apply for school? And they said, okay. And the rest is history. I became a veterinarian and went to school in the Caribbean, did an internship in Chicago, and came back to the community because that's what the goal always was. And I've been practicing in veterinary clinics around my area ever since. And finally, this year, got the chance to open my own clinic in the heart of Diamond Bar. So, pretty happy with that.
Congratulations. First of all, congratulations. That's an incredible story. It really
Thank
is.
you.
It's a beautiful story. Um, and I think it's so cool that you did it. And then, so now you've got your own clinic, which is, I'm sure, a more than full-time job, because I know how it is for my vet. Sometimes he picks up the phone at 6:30 in the morning when I call, which I think
Yeah.
is insane. And I'm sure he regrets it every time, but he does it anyway. And I think it's really an amazing thing. And then you went and
Oh,
started an over-the-counter brand.
hello, Christy. It looks like it
So
froze just a little
oh,
bit.
it did freeze. Are we back? You're frozen.
Oh,
You're
Chrissy,
back.
sorry. It looks
That's
like
okay.
it froze just a little bit there, but we're back.
We're
It
back.
got cut off at what? Just he regrets it every time.
Oh, my vet. Yes, he does regret it. I call it. So one time, I have to tell you this quick story, which I'm going to edit out.
Tell me, tell
My
me.
dog, my old English sheepdog, was a car chaser.
Oh
And
my God.
I was walking him at 6:30 in the morning, and I was very careful with him, but I also had a puppy at the time. I had just gotten the mini sheepadoodle. And so I was walking them both, and I was bending over to pick up poop, and his leash fell down, and a white car was passing, and he chased it, and he threw
Oh,
himself into the side of it. He literally got into an accident with a car that he was chasing it, though. It wasn't like the car hit him. He slammed
yeah,
himself
yeah,
into the side of it. And the guy stopped, and he was completely panicked. And of course, I was completely panicked because I thought my dog was going to die, because how could
yeah.
you hit a moving car and not be injured? And he turns out he wasn't injured. But the car had a giant dent in it.
Oh my God. Your dog really went at it.
He
He
went
does
at it,
not like moving cars.
and I was afraid to even walk with him. So I called the vet's office, and he picked
Yeah.
up at 6:30 in the morning. I was sobbing. And he
And
was
they were
like, and
like, come
I was
on
like,
in.
can I come in? And he was like, right now. And I was like, please. And he said, okay. And he let me come in, and he checked him out, and there was nothing wrong. Like, I was convinced that he was going to have internal bleeding or nothing, nothing.
Honestly, it's just this is what we're here for. You hear a lot of veterinarians and veterinary clinics, they're all backed up and
Yes.
it's a crazy time. But honestly, the veterinary part of it or the veterinarian side, every hospital
Yeah.
has their own protocols, but we're happy to help. Like that's really what it's about. Like
Yes. Yeah.
when we get that, and I have texts over here with my clinic phones, and they can text pictures and stuff like that. I'm getting
Wow.
texts at all hours of the day, and it's like, okay, this is emergency, or this is not. Wait till tomorrow morning. I'm able to help
Yep.
people out, and that's what it's about.
No, it is. Oh, that's so nice to hear. All right, let's go back to you. Okay, so let's talk about, so you have a veterinary clinic, which is a more than full-time job. And then you decided to start this line of products. So
Yeah,
talk about Wellnergy and what the impetus for starting that was and what your inspiration was.
yeah, yeah. So Wellnergy Pets is something that I started during COVID. And in 2020, if you guys can imagine, especially those with pets, veterinary visits were backed up to for 3 to 5 weeks at a time. And it was insane. And I was working for a corporate veterinary clinic at the time called Banfield. And during that time, because of rules and regulations, people that had pets that are dealing with diarrhea, or massive amount of itching and scratching, they weren't able to see me within a time frame that would be really, really good for them or the pet. And they would have to
Yeah,
watch their pet itch for 3 to 5 weeks. They would have to pick
insane.
up watery poop off the carpet or off the grass for 2 weeks. Like that's just it's not optimal, right?
Yeah, and
So
also like the level of worry as that continues on goes up, right? You have no idea if it's okay or not to wait.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And everyone in my community or in the area I was practicing, they have my number, they have my email, and that it really hit me when my old basketball coach from high school actually sent me a text at 8 a.m. with pictures of watery stool and diarrhea just all over his sofa, his
yep.
carpet, everything. And he said, Dr. Z, there's diarrhea everywhere. Bambi is having such a hard time. Is there anything I can do? And at that point, I knew this was 3 weeks into COVID. I was like, hey, this can't go on. Like I don't know how
Uh-huh.
long COVID is gonna go for. I have to create some products to help people so they can, get something over the counter, give their pets some relief, so they can hopefully avoid a veterinary visit altogether, but at least help the pet out in the meantime. So I started my line of probiotics, something to help with the diarrhea, some fish oil supplements that can help with itch when needed, and something that kind of started out the back of my garage and clinic with me and my nurses, an idea and a passion project to help people. Kind of grew and grew, and we got really lucky. People said, "Make a website." I said, "Okay, I guess I'll look up how to do that." People said, sell on Amazon. I said, "Okay, I'll look up how to do that." And it kind of took off from there. And by stroke of luck, it kind of built into a really popular brand, really popular product. I got invited to go on TV for USA Network, and that kind of launched my, trajectory into retail stores. And now, we're in CVS pharmacies and Lowe's home improvement stores, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a blessing, and most importantly, I'm happy I'm able to help not just people in my community now, but
Yeah.
people throughout the U.S. Hopefully give their pets some relief before having to take their, pets to the vet.
It's so interesting because when I heard you, so for everyone who's listening, Dr. Z and I met during SKU, which is an accelerator program for early stage CPG brands. And um, when I heard you talking, it was like it was one of those things where I was thinking to myself, why has it taken so long for this to happen? Like, because no one thinks of running to the pharmacy for their pet, but as soon as anything happens with your kids or yourself, you go and you do something to make it go away, right? You don't have to wait for a doctor's appointment to get rid of a headache. You don't have to wait for a doctor's appointment to get rid of a stomach problem. And so when you said it, it was such a no-brainer, but it
Yeah,
also was so shocking to think about how long we've gone on without it. So that to me is
exactly.
kind of a really compelling product story or brand story. I
Yep.
love that you are doing something that we have needed so deeply for so long and didn't even think about. Um,
Exactly. It's
so
it's
yeah,
crazy. I can't believe it's taken so long for us
me
to
either.
the light bulb to kind of go off.
Yep,
I'm
yep,
glad that it's starting though, and it kind of the light bulb went off because of the COVID
yep,
19 pandemic. Without it, I don't know where this field would be or this industry would be thinking about things like that because traditionally, or historically, it's been, hey, your pet has tummy issues, has diarrhea. What do? You kind of pray that it stops in 2 days, or you
yep.
take it to the vet, and that shouldn't be the case, at
No,
least in my
no,
head. It's not
no,
what we do for ourselves. If we,
exactly.
we take a Pepto-Bismol, before we
Yeah,
go to the doctor, or
yep,
we take a famotidine or Imodium or Pepcid, and it should be the same for pets and make it a
yeah,
little bit easier. And the goal was become, go-to medicine cabinet for pets so people can
yeah.
avoid veterinary visits.
Yeah. So you had no idea what you were doing at the time, but you decided to do it. How did you do it?
It was a lot of trial and error, and let me tell you that. I really at the beginning, I had no clue how to go about starting a business like this. I talked to, luckily, my sister is a lawyer. Her husband's also a lawyer. They're in charge of mergers, and
Oh,
this is
wow.
that's the type of industry they're in. So I had a little bit of resources on how to get started and how to start little fundraising, and from there, a lot of bootstrapping and taking my own money to just help people, and if it's easy to get burnt out or lose
Yes.
lose faith in what you're doing, or lose focus if something's not working right away and you throw your money into it. But the fact of the matter is, if you focus, what helped me was, despite all the trial and error, all the failures in the beginning, if I was thinking about how many people I was helping and that I
Yeah.
would be helping a lot of people by doing this, everything else is worth it. So creating those products, finding a co-packer that would that create this product for a lower price, and kind of price shopping until you find that good formula. Lots of money down the drain, and that was the biggest thing in the beginning. You realize how much money is needed just to start a brand.
Yeah.
um, and I didn't go about it the right way after going through school. This is what I learned. is I created a product and put it out for sale, and people weren't buying it, or they were buying it. I put out a price, just based on what my competitors were selling at. I created the
Yep.
bottle and the branding and the packaging based on my competitors, but you're learning after accelerator program like skew, like, hey, this was probably not the most efficient way to go about it. I was, basically throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks. And through skew, you kind of find out, hey, the best way to go about this is to see who can create this product, number one, how much it costs to do that, then create the margin you're looking for,
Right.
depending on, which channels you want to sell in, right? And then creating the branding and the packaging around that model and around that idea, and then going from there. So that was the whole startup was the biggest kind of trial and error, you can say, that I went through in the beginning, and that took a big chunk.
And how did you get through some of those moments when you were like, oh, that didn't work, or oh, I spent too much money and now what? Like, how did you make yourself keep going? Um, because it's hard. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there were moments, although you don't seem to ever stop smiling. I'm sure there were moments when there were some discouraging things happening and you were like, you had to find a way to push through.
Yeah, yeah. I was really lucky that the concept of the product wasn't too bad, and the how much it could help people was
Yes.
was easily seen in the beginning.
Yeah,
So, as far as purchases go and revenue go in the beginning, okay, I was seeing that, and not only that, of course it didn't catch up to how much I was putting into it,
of
right?
course.
But as long as someone was buying the product and
You
it
knew there was a
worked,
need, right? You at least
then
knew there
I
was.
I
Yeah.
knew there was a need, number one. And number two, I would hear back from them, you know, and I would hear back from pet parents saying, "Hey, this helped me so much. Hey, here, this is how it helped. And hey, can I buy some more because my pet needs this long term?" Or hey, you know what? I know what to do next time because of you.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me going. And then of course, the next hiccup there after, the trial and error with the branding and the costs and the margins and stuff like that. Next one was, how to get the word out, right? Building
Yes.
brand awareness, paid ads and things like that. So the next set of obstacles, I guess, that I ran into was creating enough revenue or having enough money or fundraising to put into brand awareness, right? And so that's when I found out I couldn't do this alone. Even with the amount of money I was making as a veterinarian, I had to pay rent. I still have to do all that stuff that everyone has to, So I looked through my family and friends to kind of see if anybody else wanted to invest in this idea to help people. Luckily I had one family friend and one uncle that wanted to help me in here to jump in here as co-founders, and this is where we kind of put our money into brand awareness, paid advertisements on Amazon and Google and things like that, and which initially was okay, right? But I'm sure a lot of people that are listening here probably know in 2021, towards the end of 2021, there was an iOS update that kind of crashed everyone's return on ad spend. And
Yes.
so that was the next obstacle that was really, really tough for us.
Oh gosh. And what did you tell me how you've handled that? Because that hasn't changed. I mean, it's still, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a good way of doing it, but also it's not the way it was. Like it was
for
easier to
sure.
start in a lot of ways before the iOS update because you knew who you could reach, you could retarget really easily. But now what? So how did you get beyond that?
Yeah, for sure. So we did play around with it for a little bit. When that update happened, my return on ad spend for a new brand like ours went from between 3 to 4 times per dollar spent down to like 25 cents back per dollar spent. And I soon realized that that was not we want to survive, to
Yeah.
do this, even with the additional fundraising from my uncles and my family friend. So we switch agencies, and then we switch agencies again, and we switch agencies again, and you just kind of play around to see if someone has that winning formula. Unfortunately, after a year and a half, I realized that nobody has a winning formula here. It's so difficult for brands to find a way to win with the iOS update, at least
Yeah.
from our point of view, with as inexperienced as we were. So we decided to go in a different direction. Yeah. And that's when, we realized that retail stores and wholesale accounts could be a different route for us. And very, very luckily, around that time, I was gaining a little bit of I don't know if fame is the right word, but just a little bit of traction as a content creator on Instagram, and
Mhm.
promoting my brand and things like that. That I got invited onto TV, and we pitched to some big box retailers on live TV, and luckily we earned a deal with Lowe's Home Improvement, and it opened some doors for us. And we said, hey, maybe retail is the next big step for us. So
Yep,
we diverted our resources there instead of online ads. And lo and behold, we found some success there. So luckily, that's the way we've been going since stopping online ads, and it's worked for us, and that's how we're able to find some success for a new brand.
how are you talk about the social that's one of the questions I had for you because I know you have a really big you have an unusually big presence on social for a vet, for a founder. I mean, talk about that because it has really propelled you to some degree, right, at some point.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of followers. You've got tremendous reach on your own social media and engagement, which I think is really hard to keep up. How do you do all the things, and what made you think that was the way to go, or did you not know you just were doing it?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was just doing it after my appearance on TV. I guess my producers, they were really big fans, and they said,
Yeah,
hey, you gotta really lean into this social media thing. You have a great
yeah,
presence, a great personality.
you
I
do.
think you can grow here. I said, well, what do I do? I'm just a veterinarian. I see pets all day, and they're like, just post once a day about what
Yep.
you do. And I said, well, I mean, that sounds easy enough, right? So I started doing that. I posted every day for, man, 2 years, I would say. I've been posted every day, and my followers went from maybe 6,000 to now 84,000
Incredible.
on Instagram. So I don't know how that happened, but I'm honestly, in terms of the content creation, you can't just post things if you don't like it. Like, it's gonna get really tiring, or
Exactly.
really old very fast. So what I focus on is what I love, and that's teaching and helping people. So as far as what I post, it's usually about, hey, how pet parents can help their pets at home, things to look out for when they see the vet. And then a lot of times I want to help veterinary students who are coming in, like I was as a new vet that needs some guidance. So I teach people how to do procedures, and little tips and tricks here in the hospital that can help their clients and their patients. So this is the type of important stuff to me that can help people and their pets more, and it kind of grew from there. And I'm glad that people enjoy the content, and they're taking it and learning from it.
Well, I think there's two things to your content that I think are interesting, and I hope what say what your Instagram is so people find you because it's really fast.
Yeah, it's Dr. Zonram now. So Dr. dot Zonram. My first name Zonram. Last name is Liao, and you can find me there.
So what's interesting to me about your content is two things. One is you're passionate about it. It's obvious, right? And that's the what let you do it. Because I think what you said is true, and people should hear that. If you don't care about what you're doing, you're going to get exhausted. It's tiring, right?
Yep.
But also you're doing something in a really modern way. So when I went to your Instagram first, I was so surprised because you're a vet, you're a serious doctor, you heal pets, and that's really important. It's almost like kids at this point, right? For
Yep.
people. But also your content is really fun to watch. Like you're doing it in a way that's very human and modern, and like I get it. I don't feel intimidated by it, or I don't feel like I'm watching a doctor who I don't understand. I think that's really important when it
Yeah.
comes to content, right? Getting people engaged, you're doing it in a way that's real. And I think that really
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty passionate and enthusiastic about the work I do. I mean, I love it. I love going to the clinic every day. I'm not gonna lie. I've been in clinics, as a vet since I was a vet assistant 12 years now, as a doctor going on 8 years.
Wow.
And honestly, my time as a doctor in the vet clinic, not a day feels like work. And
That's
maybe I'm lucky because my previous career before I went into become a vet, I didn't have a job. I was stocking frozen fish at a Chinese supermarket. I was kind of a loser, and just the difference between doing that type of work
Yep,
and working in the clinic is so drastic. Like I have so much fun in here, and I want that to come through. People should feel like vet med is fun when I'm able to help a pet. Like earlier I was talking to you, Christy, about pulling that piece of grass out of a dog's nose, a procedure that I just did 45 minutes ago. Man, that was exciting. That was fun. You should see how much better that dog feels right away. The
yep.
owners are gonna feel so much happier seeing their pet not sneezing every 10 minutes, and going through these episodes, and that can bring a big smile to my face, bring a big smile to my client's face. And if my followers see that, hopefully they'll get excited about veterinary medicine as well.
And talk about the brand now. Talk a little bit about Wellnergy. So what's the point? What are you hoping to accomplish with it? Where do you want to see the brand go?
Yeah, so when I first started this brand, it was just to help people, and I wasn't thinking long term about any business goals or anything like that. I was just a local kid trying to help people in my community. And then I kind of saw how the brand grew and
Mm-hmm.
grew and grew. And it kind of got to a point where I said, hey, you know what? Either we see this hole in, like you said,
Yes.
in the industry where there's not a lot of over the counter treatments.
Yep.
Yeah. For pets, for either for diarrhea, for ear infections, skin infections, things like that, right? And what can we do to either plug the hole or just stay where we're at, right? And I thought, let's take a look around and see if anybody else is doing something similar. And if they are and they have the resources to, let them take the lead, or we take the lead here. And after
Yep.
looking around for a little bit, really nobody knows what they're doing. There's no brands out there that have a practicing veterinarian like me. I work 6 days a week. I see 20 pets a day, and I do this, and I know I have a pretty unique ear to the ground where I
Yep.
know what pet parents are thinking, what they're going through, what these
Yep.
pets are going through, what are the common issues that we're seeing every single day in the clinic. And I get to create products to give pets relief based on that. No other
Yep.
brand really is doing that. So, from there I said, hey, let's go for it. Let's join the SKU Accelerator program, see what I can learn from here, and let's become, the go-to medicine cabinet for pets. If we can create products that help people avoid veterinary visits, that's the goal. Yeah.
Yep.
Give pet parents a sense of empowerment when it comes to helping their pet, instead of, like I said before, just praying that issues stop on their own. Like that
Yep.
feels that's anxiety riddled. That's nobody likes to do that, or
Yep.
having to take their pet to the vet,
The
like the
urgency,
inconvenience
right?
of that
Yeah.
emergency. No one likes to do that. If you can reach for something off the shelf and help
Yep.
your pet right away, and you feel better, and that's the goal here. And if it's something that I can do to help them, and it's my brand, that's the first thing that they grab for, then I've done my job. And
Yeah.
if pet parents feel better about taking care of their pet at home, I've done my job, and I'm very, very happy. Um, Before, of course, if I didn't think about margins and things like that, but just being able to do that makes me happy. But now we know, hey, we have a business to run, and we can
You
do
have a
this,
business.
do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about, how did you get exposed to SKU? So for listeners who don't know, which I hope you know at this point, but SKU is an accelerator program. The one that Dr. Z is talking about is based in Austin. And how did you wind up getting exposed to that?
Honestly, I was at a veterinary convention called Super Zoo last
Uh-huh.
year. Wellnergy Pets had a booth there, and we were talking to people. And I had a lady named Ashley, and she was actually a mentor on the SKU program. And she ran into me, and she loved what I was doing on social media, and said she
Mhm.
wanted to be my influencer manager, and give
Oh,
me
I
some
know who you're talking.
ideas.
I know Ashley.
Ashley Cole, yeah. So
Yes.
Ashley Cole was the one that found me, and then we started talking about my brand and things like that. And she introduced me to some people, Jamie Smith on Innovative Pet Labs, who was also part of the SKU program. And we were just having a conversation. They said, "Hey, you know what? Since you have the time right now before you start your veterinary practice, I think you would be a really good candidate for a SKU accelerator program, and learn as much about your CPG business as you can before you launch a veterinary clinic." And I took that to heart, because it's people that I felt like were really looking out to me. looking out for me. Ashley has continued to look out for me till this day, and if I listen to people around me that are looking out for me, people that I trust, that I'm gonna listen to what they say. So I applied for SKU, and very luckily I got in, and the rest is history.
It's incredible, incredible. And you've obviously learned a lot. And I want to hear about fundraising. So talk about that. Have you done an outside raise aside from your friends and family yet, or are you considering that right now?
Yeah, we're considering it right now. We're actually getting some stuff together with some of the mentor team for SKU before we launch into that next set of fundraising. But it's going to be exciting. I'm excited for it. We've already had people that are interested. So, once we
Mhm.
have this restructuring done and this rebranding done, and kind of streamlining the services that we provide, and the products that we provide here, man, I'm excited to kind of present what we have in store for the next step of Wellnergy Pets.
Amazing, amazing. What do you want to happen with the brand? Where do you see it going? What would be your dream? I mean, you're already
Well,
living your dreams, right? You're living your dream every day, which is so cool.
honestly, to be honest, this is I'm living something I never could have even dreamt about, to be
Yeah,
honest. I couldn't have dreamt that I would have my own brand. I'm in people's households helping pets. It's really been amazing. And honestly, where I see the brand going is, even if, say, we can capture the over the counter treatment market, just a small percentage, okay, and that people can have a Well Energy Pets product in their house, uh, to help their pets in time of need, then I'm happy. If one in almost 50% of American households have pets,
yeah,
if I get into one of four, I'm pretty happy. And if I most importantly is just about helping them. If they
yeah,
feel like I helped, I'm happy. Yeah. The rest of my team handles a lot of the business side of things, but the vision is always mine to just help them. And if I'm helping every household, great. I think the brand has the potential to do that.
you
You
too.
know, because there's just not a lot of brands in the field that know what they're doing here, and I'm able to find products that work that I use in the clinic every single day. And
Yeah.
instead of, as a veterinarian, gatekeeping those products, what about we share those products with pet parents and the public? Why not? So if I'm able to continue doing this, get the funding to do so, hey, there's a chance that we can be in every household helping pets in time of need. So that's the goal here.
What do you feel like the biggest challenge you've faced so far has been, or the couple of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is always brand awareness. It is a saturated field when it comes to not over the counter treatment, but just pet
Pep
care
parents.
products. Yeah. And people don't even know to search for over the counter treatments. People are looking for supplements and things like that.
Yes.
Okay, making some headway into there, teaching people what to Google for and things like that. Okay, that's the toughest part. And just kind of finding ways to kind of litter yourself or sprinkle yourself
Yeah.
into the people's periphery, as a brand that can help their pets. That's the hardest part as a new brand,
Yeah.
and getting finding the ways to attack that efficiently, and knowing which ways to attack that is definitely tough, especially for someone who's taking their first dive into CPG.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
almost
it's
impossible.
interesting because there's some education, right? Because I don't think as pet parents, we even think that we can treat our own pets anything, right? The first thing
Exactly.
you think of is, oh God, now I have to get an appointment. That's going to take forever. Or have to go to the emergency vet. That's going to cost $1 million. And I'm going to spend 10 hours sitting there, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't even occur to you to run to CVS like you would do for your kids. And I think that education, once people start realizing that, I just cannot see it stopping because I think you've
Exactly.
been waiting for it for so long and not even thinking it was the thing, right?
Exactly,
So,
exactly. And that's exactly what it is. It's like I said, people don't even know what to look for.
yep.
And like you said,
Yep.
people don't know they can go to CVS and buy my product and take
Um,
it home and give it to their pet, like a Pepto-Bismol for dogs to stop diarrhea right away. They don't know. It starts
yep.
working in 20 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to pick up diarrhea from the
Yeah.
grass anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really about bringing that awareness in and letting people know, hey, there's other options other than just praying that things stop or having to buy feel like they have to be pressured to buy pet insurance right away or care credit to go to an ER visit and things
Yes,
like that.
right,
There's
right,
things you can
right,
do at
right.
home. Yeah.
All those things. Yeah, you do know all the things. What has been your favorite, like some of the moments where you're like, yeah, that's how I know that I'm going to keep going because that made me feel good, successful, like I'm on the right track. Like what has happened that made you feel that way?
Well, in the beginning when I started all of this, it was a lot of, "Hey, what can Dr. Z, I'm hitting you up because I have no idea what to do with my pets. Hey, I don't know, but there's this issue going on. I can't see the vet. What can I do?" There's a lot of texts like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what the turning point was maybe 2, 3 years in, I was still getting these texts, but then I started hearing texts more like instead of, "Hey, what can I do?" is, "Hey, where can I buy your product? Where can I
Hmm.
get the product fastest? What can I do to help my pet the easiest through your brand?" And that's when I realized, hey, this stuff is really working. These are repeat buyers. These are people who the product has worked for. Of course, working in a veterinary clinic, I know it's gonna work because I
Yep.
only use products with ingredients that I use in the vet clinic every day. But the fact that they're seeing those results and they're reaching out with that type of return is okay. We have something here. People want to stock up and leave it in their house. Okay, that's the most important thing. If they want to stock up on it in case of a rainy day, that's what the product's here for. And if they continue to do that and more people reach out like that, I think we've done it.
That's amazing. I want to be really respectful of your time and I appreciate how much you've already shared, but I just always like to ask if you have one or two pieces of advice to give to people who are just starting. I already think I know what one of them is going to be, but give me a couple.
No, no, I think one of the best advices and things that I've learned through the SKU Accelerator program is, hey, you know, what one of my mentors, Julie, she calls it immaculate bookkeeping. Okay, that's
Mhm.
one of the most important things when starting a business. Instead of just finding a product and just throwing it out there and saying this is going to work for a ton of people, it that you're going to have a very tough time in the very beginning running a business that way is what I've learned. And I had a really tough time running a business in the beginning that way, doing it that way. So bookkeeping in the beginning, finding out the cost here, finding out margins that'll keep you afloat in the beginning is so important. So even as business that's starting out, if you have a margin where you're making enough money to do the next thing with each product you sell, that is a sustainable business. If you're losing money despite every product you sell, and you need to sell thousands and thousands of product right off the bat just to have survivable margins, you're gonna get burnt out very very fast, and you're gonna get depressed very fast, and you're gonna get disheartened very fast. So, and then doing adjustments after that, when people are used to a certain price point, for example, then okay, now you have another thing to tackle, right? So, starting that in the very beginning was probably the best advice that I got, and it's something that I'm going to be taking to heart and adjusting, my products to reflect. And people are happy with it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think that would be the biggest piece of advice that I have that I took away from the whole track.
Were you surprised at how much more, like how big the margins needed to be for you to actually survive?
Yeah, yeah, and I thought with even with my products, and I don't know if we can get into specifics here, but I thought even with my even decent selling products at a 60% margin, it was survivable. After doing all the immaculate bookkeeping that we learned to do with Stu, I realized, hey, this is not sustainable
Yeah.
at 60% margins. Wow, I am shocked.
Shocking, right?
Okay. It was really shocking, and the products that would survive with my brand were things over 75%. And
For
okay, let's focus on those. Let's see what we can do there, and where we can improve along the margins. But that was huge for me.
So you're about to rationalize, sort of rationalize your product line, right? And
Yeah.
potentially focus on fewer.
Mhm.
SKUs versus more. Is that right?
Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
we started doing that already, yep.
Yep. And I think that's another thing that people think the more like innovation, 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 more products, more products, more products. But then you have to make them all, support them all, right?
Sell them all. You
Sell
know,
them
it's
all.
it's
Yes.
it's it's really hard. Soon enough, you're creating like you're like ordering like with your co-packers 1,000 products, and it's taking forever to get those out the door. Now you're in a little bit of a bind, right? And that
Mhm.
happened with just a couple products in the beginning. Luckily, I didn't have a huge issue with that, but I could see where it would have become a big issue, and I don't want to anything to do with that, right? I want to avoid that as much as possible. So that was really huge for us to learn. And then SKU rationalization was really important. And the other thing was channel rationalization was another thing that I learned from the whole SKU track was that was really important. Like throwing money into ads or channels where it wasn't efficient and you weren't making money was is really tough. You take a few months, half a year, 1 year maybe to find out which channels work best for you, and you focus on the winning ones. So that way you can have a sustainable business, and whatever revenue you make in or profit you make in. Okay, now we throw that into brand awareness. Yeah, now you can throw that elsewhere and then continue to grow the business and grow the brand. So those are really the big takeaways, one and two, I would say.
Awesome. Amazing. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up? I think this is fantastic. Your energy is so insane. I want to ask, insane in a good way. I want to ask you though, well, I have one more question for you because I don't know how you're doing it. Do
Ask
you
away.
ever get burnt out? Like, how do you keep like you have having your clinic is way full time. Having
Yeah.
a starting a brand is five full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Ever get tired?
You know what? Not really. I think I'm having so much fun in the clinic and working on the brand and hearing back from people. Of course it can be tiring for certain people. I think if you're focused on the wrong things, and if I spend all my time focused on the money aspect and the margins and
Yes.
everything like that and putting that type of pressure on myself, those stuff, don't get me wrong, it is really important. It's really important to have a survivable business, okay? However, if I spent all my time focused on that, I think I would have gotten burnt out and tired.
Yeah.
However, I spend a lot of my time focused on it sounds cheesy to say, but putting smiles on people's faces. Yeah.
Mhm.
If that's the equity that I get back,
Yep.
is when I'm in a clinic and I'm able to help a pet and a pet parent, and it puts a smile on their face and they leave happier than when they came in. I'm a happy guy. If a
Yeah.
pet parent buys my product and leaves happier after a day or two than when they were purchasing the product, I'm a happy guy. And with all that, it kind of feeds my energy, and keeps me going. So please, if you're out there buying my products or coming see me in the clinic, tell us how much you've helped me. It keeps me going. It keeps me happy. I'm working all the time, and in the clinic, not a single day, like I said, feels like work when I'm able to help people.
So inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it. I think it's going to